First of all, we can begin to study what's happened in this nation over the last 10 to 15 years regarding gun violence, rules, regulations, the types of firearms, the technology that's developed over these many years. We can develop an opinion. Where do you stand on the issue? Do we support stronger gun violence regulations? We can reach out to our elected officials. We can write. We can campaign for change to make our society a safer place. And you know, in the end, if you lawfully can possess a firearm under whatever regulations exist, and you choose to do that, lock them up. Lock these weapons up. I think the county executive is right on point with his comments. I think in the days ahead, we'll come to realize that that was a key, pivotal factor in this entire issue. Thank you.
Chief, over the weekend, a pro-gun lawmaker said on Fox News that he believes if the principal had been armed, that she could have taken out the killer in Newtown. Do you agree with that at all, or do you disagree? I mean, that's the other side of this argument here, is that everybody should be armed.
Strongly disagree. We know today, what little we do know about Connecticut, that the firepower used by that young man, the amount of ammunition he brought in, the high-capacity magazines, the other armament that he had, that a handgun would have been a little match in that particular case. And I will say this as well, because I think it'll probably come up. Our shooting in Towson this weekend at the Charles Village Pub. You know, there's campaigns all across Maryland, and frankly, national campaigns for the right to carry. This is a great example of why that's not a good idea. Guy had half a load on, all right, drinking at a location all night long, and he happened to have a handgun permit. He was unlawful. Shouldn't have had that gun at that location. It was only for his business that he owns. But yet, he chose to pull that out and use it because he felt as though he was losing ground somehow. All right. So certainly, I believe that in the case of Connecticut, the arming of our citizens is not a wise decision.
Chief Johnson, I know there have been increased patrols within Baltimore County Public Schools. Is there a thought of trying to place resource officers in all county schools in the near future?
We have increased our visible patrols at our schools, frankly, since September. And as we all know, at our elementary schools, since the tragedy unfolded in Connecticut, we have increased presence there as well. We are studying all aspects of increased security measures, and at some future date and time, we'll announce what changes, if any, will be made.
Part of this issue, too, is mental illness, as far as dealing with mental illness. One of you elaborate on the fact of like services that may be available, say like in Baltimore County, if a parent or somebody feels that they need to get some type of help, or is that more of a state issue?
Well, Rosie, we obviously have a great Department of Health and Human Services in Baltimore County, and what we actually did was merge two agencies, Department of Health and Department of Social Services, and kind of break down the wall between those two categories, because usually if someone does have social service issues, they tend to also have health issues that we think we can deal with more holistically. But it really gets back to why I kind of blame the parents here. In each of the two weapon incidents in Baltimore County that took place in September, as well as this particular incident, it appears that all three of these children had mental health issues, and yet in all three of these cases it appears that the family allowed them access to these weapons. So,
but as far as getting services, are there not open, I shouldn't say campaigns. Are there resources available that if somebody says, hey, I need help with my kid, that they can come to the county and say, I can get this?
Absolutely. First of all, it already exists within the school system, so every parent has that opportunity. But Baltimore County also offers it through our Department of Health and Human Services, a wide variety where we spend millions of dollars to allow opportunities for mental health counseling and access.
And Chief, as far as mental illness as well too, a lot of times when there is someone with mental illness, your officers are the first person that has to deal with it. Any thought to, I guess, dealing more with training as far as how they can work with, deal with people that obviously have some type of problem?
Well, certainly our police officers and frankly law enforcement across the nation focus on treating and handling those with emotional and or mental health issues. It's a very important part of this work. I want to key in on something the county executive has stated. In the cases in Baltimore County, and it appears as though it's a factor in the most recent shootings, the family appears to have had some knowledge of emotional and mental health issues. While we like to try to handle things within our family, I think there's a point in time where the family needs to reach out to the professionals. And I think that's a key component of helping reduce these incidents across America. And the moms and dads out there, they're having a child that frankly is exhibiting behavior that they're concerned about. Reach out to professionals, and as a community, let's help you. Let's address this matter.
Because once it gets to the police officer, it's pretty much too late.
Yeah, that's a good point, Rosie. I think once law enforcement is called, that family has signaled they've lost total control. And I think it's a very good point.
Getting back to Charles Villages for a second, since that's the most recent gun situation, is there a growing concern from both of you and the people you deal with about what's going on in that area after hours on the weekend? We had the situation with the Record Theater. Now you have an individual with a gun when there's a lot of college students around there from Towson. Is there a concern from you guys about this latest situation and how you guys are going to deal with it? I'm just curious what
I want to point out that Towson has been, violent crime in the Towson area has been declining for several years. We're running 6-month statistics right now. However, we have had other shootings across the county. When you're dealing with a population, either resident or working population, motorists, a million people a day moving through this large county. It's a huge county. You're going to have these circumstances. And certainly, when you have bars and restaurants, you have alcohol, and you happen to have someone who happens to have a handgun, all right, you have this sort of tragedy that takes place. We have increased police officer presence in Towson with many innovative strategies. I have the utmost confidence in the captain I have there and the command staff that supervises, and we continue to look at other resources we can use to address not only Towson but other communities that are experiencing violent crime rates. We're talking this morning about crime and violence, but again, I want to bring us back to fact. Violent crime in Baltimore County is down, but as professionals, we recognize we can do more, and as a society, we should.
Chief Johnson, you talked about increased patrols around Baltimore County Public Schools. Is that, just for clarification, are there increased patrols around other schools, private and so forth, as well? In Baltimore County?
We have always maintained a visual presence at all education facilities across Baltimore County, from elementary, private, and even higher institutions. We see that, and frankly other targets, as needing that public safety protection.
County Executive, you had some sharp words for the owners of the Record Theater a couple of months ago after an incident. Any words regarding the owners of the establishment after the shooting this weekend, and what responsibility do they have regarding this incident?
I have consistently stated that the owners of a liquor establishment, a bar, have a responsibility for their patrons after they leave the building. So the question for the liquor board in any of these type of circumstances is not did the incident occur inside or outside the premises, but also was this person intoxicated? And obviously the suggestion in both of those incidents are that they were intoxicated, which then goes back to the liquor board's oversight of that licensee.
So do you think that the owners in this case should be held responsible?
Again, as we did with the Record Theater and as we've done with numerous other cases, a police report will be forwarded to the liquor board, and the liquor board will then make a determination of whether to bring the owner in for a hearing, and thereafter what action might be taken.
Chief, can I bring you back to your role with your national organization? Is there any statistical evidence that shows that the assault weapons ban, while in place, was effective in stopping?
Purchasers that were denied weapons during that period of time. I would also point out that the technology of these weapons has drastically improved over the last 10 to 15 years. And it's important for media and the public to become aware of what these devices can do, how they work, and why they are so dangerous to our society. We are tracking the use of assault weapons across America today. The Oregon incident, assault weapon. The incident with our Congresswoman, high-capacity magazine, a magazine that came down below the grip of the weapon inches to hold whatever it was, 30 or 35 rounds. These are weapons, as the county execs have stated, they're designed for combat, all right? And good enthusiasts and people enjoy shooting weapons like I do. I go to a range. I enjoy it. It's fun to target shoot, but I don't need an assault weapon.
So what's the holdup?
I'm sorry.
What's the holdup?
I think you have national organizations that are well-funded and certainly have the wherewithal and the expertise to get their message out. And I think as Americans, as moms and dads, and people who are working in our factories and our industrial parks, we haven't stopped to understand what's taking place. You may even want to go into a range and take a look behind the counter. I think you'll be shocked. That is what you see. The availability of the firepower and the accessibility of ammunition today. And if you don't like Maryland laws, well, buy it over the internet. So there's ways to get around these things, but public education, I think, is a key component to solving this problem.
Is your organization going to take on the NRA in a stronger capacity in light of this incident?
For some time now, the NRA has had concerns about the national partnerships position. However, they've had concerns about many of our elected officials' positions on these issues as well, and many other organizations that want stronger gun violence control.
Adam, I'll tell you what it is. From my perspective, it's politicians who don't trust their own instincts and fear when one or two voices are out there that somehow they have to respond to those voices as opposed to their gut instinct. I don't think there's one person in this room right now who believes we should be having assault weapons, AK-47s, out in the public. I'll ask, is there anyone here? Rosie, you're just putting your camera on.
Hold on, let me get his picture.
So, and I think a lot of the conversations, and really one of the reasons the chief and I are coming forward is because we want to say to those who make these decisions, or behind you, do the right thing. This, in political parlance, this is a no-brainer.